right. Before beginning the second half of this presentation, I wanted to briefly review what we've discussed so far. First of all, rhythm and blues, just like jazz, comes from the blues. And the blues is the result of a fusion of West African folk music and European folk music that may never have occurred if not for the horror of slavery in America. The miracle of the blues would never have been preserved had it not been for the fact that utilization of this music genre during periods of work resulted in increased productivity on the plantations. And just like energy itself, the blues cannot be created or destroyed, only changed. And one such change resulted in the creation of what we are celebrating tonight, rhythm and blues. Since 1950, rhythm and blues has been the world's most influential music genre. Who put the H in the letters that spell out this rare original American art form? That H would have to stand for Houston. Now I believe I have illustrated throughout this presentation that Houston, more than any other city, has contributed to the acceptance and spread of this great music style throughout the nation and the world. The presentation has also indicated that the T in rhythm and blues would have to stand for Texas because of all the blues pioneers with Texas roots. But since this presentation is all about giving credit where credit is due, please allow me to illustrate who put some of the other letters in rhythm and blues that spell out the world's most influential music genre. The second H in R&B would have to go to the second letter in Chicago, which is also known as the Second City. Chicago became home of many blues pioneers as they left the South to seek a better life in the North. Isn't it amazing that the second letter in Chicago's Chess Records is also an H? Leonard Chess and his label made great contributions to R&B, but it wasn't established until 1950, a full year after Don Roby established his Peacock label in our great city of Houston. And while we're on that second H, let's also use it as the second letter of Ohio and give credit to Sid Nathan's King label of Cincinnati, which entered the R&B market in 1950. King Records was not only a top R&B label, but also a country label employing a totally integrated staff that was very influential in merging country and R&B to create rock and roll. King's most successful R&B artists were Bill Doggett, Hank Ballard, inventor of the twist, and the great James Brown. And speaking of James Brown, you're listening to our version of his Cold Sweat as background music right now. James Brown might have been the only artist to participate in every music genre we're discussing today. He started in gospel and blues, then went on to doo-wop, before switching to R&B. Then he became the godfather of soul and the founder of funk. Finally, it must be noted that James Brown backgrounds or samples are used in hip-hop more than any other artist. Yes, we have to give it to him. The B in rhythm and blues has to stand for Mr. Brown, making him the only artist represented by a letter in rhythm and blues. Now the A in rhythm and blues would have to go to Atlantic Records, which started as a jazz label before converting to R&B around 1953, placing it fourth on the list of R&B entries. The N in rhythm and blues would have to go to New York City, the home of Atlantic Records. But the N must also be credited to New Orleans, birthplace of jazz and Louis Armstrong, as well as home to great R&B innovators including Fats Domino, the Neville Brothers, Dr. John, Alan Toussaint, and Huey Piano Smith. In addition, we must recognize the M in rhythm and blues. The M stands for Memphis and Mississippi Delta, and Motown Records for their great contributions. Whoops, almost forgot the D, which stands for Detroit, the original home of Motown Records. And finally, the S in rhythm and blues would have to stand for the great Memphis record labels of Stax and Sun. We've got a lot more to say about what the individual letters in rhythm and blues stand for. So let's now continue with part 2 of Who Put the H in Rhythm and Blues.